Hello everyone. So today's topic is about destructors in C++. Now before understanding the concept of destructor, we need to understand what are constructors. We have already discussed the constructors in the earlier lecture, and just a review back, what is a constructor? Constructor is a special member function which is going to define the object or construct the object. When an object is constructed, that means the object needs some memory space and that particular memory space is allocated to it. Now, destructor is doing the opposite job. That means constructor is constructing the object and allocating some space for these particular objects when executed, and destructor is another special member function which destructs or deletes the data of object. That means it releases the memory occupied by the objects, right? So it is doing the opposite job of the constructor. Constructor constructs the object and destructor deletes or destructs the data of the object or delete the object, right? It's kind of, it releases all the resources occupied by the object, right? Now what is the syntax for destructor? We have learned about the constructor. The class name and the constructor name is same, always same, right? While when we talk about the syntax of destructor, destructor also has the same name as the class name. That means if I have a class with the name constructor, that means the destructor should also have the same name as the class name. It should be preceded by a tilde operator. This is the tilde operator. So tilde operator, then the class name and the parenthesis and semicolon. This is the syntax of destructor. The only difference between the syntax of constructor and destructor is this particular tilde operator. Now, what are the properties of destructor? See, or I can say what are the rules we have to follow when defining the destructor in the code. Destructor function is automatically invoked when the objects are destroyed, right? Constructors are also the functions, special functions which are automatically invoked, but these are invoked when the objects are created. Here, when the objects are destroyed, destructor function is automatically invoked. If if the programmer is defining the destructor function, then it is fine. If it is not defined by the programmer, then the compiler will automatically execute the destructor function, or it will be automatically invoked, right? Second point, it cannot be declared as static or constant. This we have to remember because this is a special member function. It is not a common function which can be defined as or declared as static or constant. Third point is the destructor does not have arguments, right? That means if I give the syntax as tilde sign, if the class name is car, so the destructor name is also car, and then the parenthesis. So this is the syntax for destructor. We will never give arguments in the parenthesis in the destructor syntax, right? So no arguments in destructor. While when we talk about constructor, we can give or may not give the arguments in the constructor, right? Next, same as the property of constructor, this particular function does not have any return type, right? Or not even the void. As we all know, constructor is also not having any return type. Same way, the destructor is also not having any return type or not even the void. Next, an object of a class with a destructor cannot become a member of the union, right? Next, a destructor should be declared in the public section of the class. As we all know, the constructor is also every time declared in the public section of the class. The destructor should also be declared in the public section of the class. Last, the programmer cannot access the address of the destructor. The address of the destructor cannot be accessed by the programmer. Now, when is destructor called? When it is called, first of all, I told you that this particular destructor function is automatically invoked, right? When the object goes out of scope, sorry. So whenever the object goes out of scope, the destructor function will be automatically called or invoked. If the function ends, that means as soon as it defines the closing of curly braces, right? That is when we complete the function, with the curly braces. So that means this function ends, or program ends, or a block of containing local variable ends, or a delete operator is called. So this particular destructor function will be called with these four things. Either there is the end of the function, either the program is ending, or the local variables are being ended in a block, or the delete operator is called with the destructor, right? Next thing is how destructors are defined different from a normal member function. Now, what are the difference between the normal member functions and this particular destructors? Destructors have the same name as the class preceded by a tilde operator, I have told you, right? But the normal functions will not have the same name, right? It can have different also. Destructors do not have any argument or don't take any argument, and they do not have any return type. While in normal member functions, what we define either void or we have a return type, and we give arguments. We may or may not give arguments. While in destructors, no arguments and no return type, right? Now, there's a question, can there be more than one destructor in a class? Then the answer is of course not, because we cannot use any more than one destructor in a class with class name preceded by tilde operator, no parameters and no return type. That means the destructor does not support the destructor overloading, right? No overloading is supported, while constructor overloading can be done, but no destructor overloading is done. How constructor overloading can be done? Constructor overloading can be done with the same name but different parameters, right? We have already done this particular topic also in the earlier sections. Let's see within a demo program how can we code the or call the destructor. Let's see. This is a general format, include iostream, conio.h. Now I have defined a class named sample, right? Starting of curly braces, I have defined the variables, integer a and b, public because constructor and destructor has to be defined in public area only of the class. So that is why public. This is a constructor. Sample, why sample? Because the class name and the constructor name will be same, and parenthesis, right? So this is what, this is the constructor. Now here I'm initializing a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20. Closing of braces, that means this is the complete constructor. Now I have defined the destructor. How to define destructor? The tilde operator preceded with the class name. So the class name will be the same as the destructor name and the parenthesis. Now you can see the only difference between the constructor and the destructor is this particular tilde operator, right? Otherwise it is same. And within the curly braces, I have defined cout A and cout B, and I have closed the braces, right? Now I'm defining the main function. In the main function, I have instantiated the object sample class, right? So I've created an object S of class sample. So this is the constructor. Now, as soon as this is executed, it will move to this particular part. The constructor is executed. As soon as the constructor is executed, it is defining what? These two variables are initialized. And here we can say, let's say this is stack, it can be a stack or a queue, whatever. So a memory space is allocated for this. So A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 20, right? As we have defined this A and B as integer, so it will take 2 bytes and 2 bytes, so 4 bytes memory space is allocated to this particular stack. And when we are defining, we do not need to call the destructor function. It will be automatically called or invoked, right? So what will happen when this particular is executed, the destructor, it will release the memory allocated by these two variables, right? So the object is deleted. Object is deleted means all the data of the object, that means all the resources allocated to this particular object are released. So the data of the object is deleted when the destructor is executed. So this is how the destructor works. Thank you very much.